Today we're making stuffed bell peppers. I'm not listing down quantities since you can easily adjust this according to your preference. But if you don't know where to begin, you can start with 250 grams of ground meat. And the rest, just add accordingly. First things first, we need rice. You can use any rice and cook it the way you're used to. Back home, I would normally do this in a rice cooker, but I don't have that. What I do have is brown rice in a bag, which is also convenient. I just drop it in a boiling pot of water, keep it there for 10 minutes, drain it, and that's done. You can set it aside. I am now preparing our bell pepper boats, which you can do open or one with cover. And to remove the seeds from the bell pepper, it's easy. Simply cut through the connective tissue from the side of the pepper, then twist off the middle portion and pull it out. Do some cleaning if some of it are left behind. Now, if you choose to do this without cover, please do not discard the top portion. Just chop it up and add it as a stuffing later. But if you do choose to keep the cover, look at this, what I did to this yellow pepper, and you can see that if you cut too close to the stem, then the stem would fall off, leaving you with a hole on top of your cover, which is not a pretty sight. Plus, the green stem color adds a whole different dimension to the presentation of your bell pepper. The average person can eat 1 to 2 medium to large pepper, and I generally make extra as this dish right here stores pretty well. It's now time to prepare the stuffing. Get a pan and put it on medium heat and add some oil. Once the oil is hot, add the minced garlic and toss it around for about 30 seconds. Then add your chopped up onions. I like garlic and it has health benefits. I can get away with using a whole bulb or even as much as 2 for this particular dish. I usually use 2 medium to large onions. I find it to be a good filler. Plus, the sweet taste of caramelized onions is a good complement to the sourness of tomatoes. Once your onion starts to turn translucent, it's now time to add your ground meat. I'm using 60% ground beef and 40% ground pork. Depending on your preference, you can use as little or as much meat as you like. You can even make this into an all-meat stuffing. I am now adding salt and coarsely ground pepper. If you do not have a pepper mill, then you can just use any ground pepper. I am now adding canned tomatoes. It doesn't matter what kind, you can even use tomato paste. Instead of discarding the top portion of the bell pepper, I just chop them up and add it to the stuffing. If I have an extra bell pepper lying around, I may chop that one up as well and add it. It serves as an extra filler. Another good filler for this stuffing is fresh tomatoes. If I have it lying around, I would just remove the seeds, chop up the outer portion, and add it here. We want this to be a dry filling, so I have turned up the heat to reduce the tomato sauce. I also suggest that you give this stuffing a taste at this point. That way you can add your seasoning as needed. You usually don't need more than salt and pepper, but if you find it to be too sour or too salty, then you might like to add a little bit of sugar, like a teaspoon or 2. If you're not afraid to experiment, then feel free to use whatever seasoning you have lying around. I added basil on this one as well as 5 spice. When adding extra spices, especially unknown ones, err on the side of caution. Try adding 1 pinch at a time and give it a taste every step of the way. Just in case something goes wrong, it's easier for you to add something else to mask the taste. Now that this has dried up, it's time to add rice. You can add 1 to 2 cups depending on how much carbs you actually want. After mixing your rice in, it's now time to add your preferred cheese. The cheese has an added purpose of being the binder for this stuffing. And of course, it tastes good. If for some reason you cannot or don't want to add cheese, feel free to do so. This stuffing can still work. After mixing the cheese in with the other ingredients, You can now use a spoon and start filling your peppers with this stuffing. When filling up the peppers, I like to press down a little bit with a spoon and try to pack in as much filling as possible. This dish stores well, so I do make it 1 to 2 days in advance. I do have two options of storing this. First one is after filling it, I store it in the fridge, then put it in the oven for 1 hour at 120 degrees centigrade once I'm ready to eat it. The second option is to bake it right now at 120 degrees centigrade for 1 hour still. It takes that long to actually bake the bell peppers. And afterwards, let it cool and then store it in the fridge. Once I'm ready to eat it, I just pull it out of the fridge and pop it in the microwave for a few minutes. I now have instant microwavable food, homemade at that. I do like to add some cheese on top of the peppers for presentation purposes. I recommend adding this at the last 10 minutes of your baking time so that it doesn't burn. Now enjoy your pepper, guys.